We're taking a comprehensive look at Budget 2012 tonight, with the Finance Minister saying the government will spend $5.5 billion over the next 5 years to help the less well-off in Singapore. Mr. Tharman Shanmugaratnam revealed this during a post-budget discussion on Channel News Asia tonight. And as you heard in our headlines, a key theme of this year's budget is ensuring that no one is left behind. But let's start our reports with another of the key priorities outlined by the Finance Minister: reducing Singapore's dependence on foreign workers. Mr. Tharman announced significant cuts to the proportion of foreign workers Singapore firms can hire and described it as a key structural change that companies have to get used to. He also announced a slew of measures to help them cope, including incentives to encourage the hiring of older workers. He said these schemes will cost $1.4 billion a year and will more than offset the amount businesses have to pay for increased foreign worker levies.
Foreign manpower in Singapore has grown by 7.5% per year over the last 2 years. They now account for about one-third of Singapore's total workforce.
We have no alternative but to slow down the growth of our foreign workforce. Some sectors, such as construction, will require significantly more foreign workers over the next 5 years, given our major housing and public transport projects. However, economy-wide, we will have to take further measures to avoid an ever-increasing dependence on foreign labour.
Mr. Tharman says the dependency ratio ceilings, or DRCs, which specify the maximum proportion of foreign workers that companies can hire, will be cut. Manufacturing DRCs will be reduced from 65% to 60%, while services DRCs will come down from 50% to 45%. This is expected to affect 500 manufacturing companies and 8,500 services companies. Mr. Tharman says the changes will take effect from 1st July this year. However, firms with existing foreign workers will have till June 2014 to comply with the new rules. As for the construction sector, which is more foreign labour intensive, it will see further tightening of the man-year entitlement quotas by 5% in 2012. Man-year entitlement spells out how many foreign workers a main contractor is allowed to hire. Mr. Tharman says businesses will get help to make the transition.
We have to do so in a way that will promote restructuring and upgrading. This means that greater assistance will flow to those who are willing to improve productivity, design better jobs to attract workers, local workers, and innovate in order to grow.
A significant incentive to help Singaporeans over 50 stay employed for longer is the enhancement to the Special Employment Credit, or SEC. Under the 5-year scheme, employers hiring older workers earning up to $3,000 a month will receive a monthly payout of 8% of their wages, while a lower SEC will be provided for those with higher wages. And all SMEs can receive a one-off cash grant to help them offset higher business costs. It's part of the measures to prepare companies for longer-term changes to improve productivity.
Now, the government is also enhancing the Productivity and Innovation Credit Scheme by increasing the cash payout to businesses for their staff training expenditure. The increase is from 30% to 60%, meaning a company investing $10,000 in training will be eligible for a $6,000 payout. Companies can also get their payout more quickly, claiming every quarter instead of at the end of the financial year. The National Productivity Fund, which offers targeted support for industries to restructure, will also get a $2 billion boost. Elsewhere, the government has introduced a new permanent feature in the tax system, the GST voucher. It aims to make sure the goods and services tax isn't a burden to the lower income group.
Whether it's shopping for groceries at a supermarket or paying for a meal at a restaurant, everyone pays a goods and services tax of 7%. Mr. Tharman says it's a flat tax which takes up more of the pay of those with low incomes. The GST voucher aims to address that. The vouchers will be given to households in 3 ways: cash, MediSave top-ups and USave. The amount each person gets is based on both income and annual value of their homes. The cash component is given to those whose incomes fall within the bottom 40% and live in HDB flats or the bottom 15% of private properties. Those in HDB flats will get $250 each year, while those in lower-end private properties get $100 as long as their incomes are below $24,000 $1,000 a year. The second component will comprise an annual top-up to the MediSave accounts of older Singaporeans. Those above 65 and living in HDB flats or lower-end private properties will get this. This would benefit 85% of all elderly Singaporeans. The third component will help lower and middle-income households through a permanent YouSave rebate to offset part of their utilities bills. Households living in smaller flats will benefit more. For instance, those in 1- and 2-room flats will get $260 a year. Mr. Tarman says this is equivalent to about 3 to 4 months of their utilities bills on average.
Let me illustrate how the GST voucher adds up when you add up the cash, MediSave top-ups and the YouSave. A retiree couple living in a 3-room flat will receive enough to offset fully the GST that they pay each year. They typically pay about $840 in GST a year, but they will receive, through this voucher, $1,240. Take an example of a younger lower-income household without elderly persons in 3- or 4-room flats. They too will receive a significant GST offset. It should cover about half of the total GST payments they make each year.
It's a very smart move because when you have a temporary scheme and you announce it for 5 years ahead, people forget that you've, received this benefit. So the GST voucher is a very good idea to remind people that this is meant to offset your GST costs. And it's very targeted, it's there to stay.
The government has set aside $3.6 billion to finance the scheme for the next 5 years to ensure it can provide the vouchers even if the economy is not doing well.
And CPF contribution rates for older workers will be raised from September. Those aged 50 to 65 will see their rates rise 0.5 to 2.5 percentage points. And more of this will go to the special account.
Finance Minister Tharman Shanmugaratnam said that it's a good time to raise CPF contribution rates. The labour market is tight and the re-employment legislation is now in place.
The government had made good consultations with its tripartite partners and have reached a consensus on the CPF changes. For those workers aged between 50 and 55, the contribution rates will be increased by 6 percentage points. However, Mr. Tharman said this major move cannot be done in one step, especially with the looming economic slowdown.
In the long term, this group could see their CPF contribution rate reach the full 36%. For the first step, CPF contribution rates for those aged between 50 and 55 will be raised by 2.5 percentage points. For workers aged between 55 and 60, their contribution rates will be increased by 2 percentage points. Additionally, for workers aged between 60 and 65, the employer contribution rate will increase by 0.5 percentage points. Unionists welcome the change.
Most of the workers have been calling this, especially as you all know that after the age of 50, they have a reduction. Now, let's say we start to restore back, I think it's ideally...
The Finance Minister also announced an enhanced incentive called the Special Employment Credit to encourage employers to hire older workers. Employers will get 8% of wages for hiring older Singaporeans earning less than $3,000 a month. Employers said they do not see any major impact to their business costs.
I think company can benefit from that, even with a full increase of 66% wage. But there is an 8% special grant by the government, right? And that actually fully offset that increase in costs of the CPF.
The changes in CPF contribution rates will affect some 390,000 older workers.
Mr. Tharman also announced the Silver Housing Bonus, aimed at incentivizing elderly Singaporeans to unlock the value of their HDB flats. They'll get a bonus of up to $20,000, part of it in cash.
The scheme is for those 55 and above who sell their HDB flats and move to a smaller place. In order to get the $20,000 bonus, net sales proceeds have to be put back into the Central Provident Fund accounts. Suppose we have a retired couple who each have $10,000 in their CPF retirement accounts. They sell their 3-room flat and buy a studio apartment, earning proceeds of $250,000. This means they now have $270,000 in their CPF. After fulfilling the CPF minimum sum of $262,000, the couple get to withdraw $8,000 in cash. With a silver housing bonus of $15,000 in cash, they get $23,000 in hand. The remaining $5,000 of the silver housing bonus is deposited into their CPF accounts, and the amount is used to purchase a CPF Life Annuity plan, which provides a lifelong monthly cash payout of $1,200. The government is also enhancing the lease buyback scheme, under which elderly, low-income citizens sell part of their HDB lease back to the government. Now, currently, all proceeds go back into their CPF accounts, and the money is used to buy an annuity plan. In addition, sellers get $10,000 from the government, of which half is given as cash. To make the scheme more attractive, the government will be doubling how much it gives to households to $20,000. And not all sales proceeds need to go back into the CPF. Anything above the minimum sum can be withdrawn as cash.
This is News 5 tonight. More now on Budget 2012. The government is doubling annual healthcare expenditure to $8 billion over the next 5 years. The money will go into building better infrastructure, from hospitals to home-based care. Healthcare will also be made more affordable, including for the middle class.
By 2020, there will be 30% more beds in acute hospitals, while the number of beds in community hospitals and capacity for long-term care will more than double. Besides enhancing capacity, the government is also making long-term care more affordable.
We will also raise subsidies for nursing homes, daycare and rehabilitation facilities, and home-based care packages so that more in the middle-income group can benefit. 2/3 of Singaporean households will now qualify for these subsidies.
In a significant move, middle-income patients at community hospitals will now qualify for government subsidies of 20 to 50% when previously they didn't get any.
It's great because especially for us, the sandwich class. And of course, I hope that they would also do to the daycare rehab center.
It's good for those elderly, like middle income. But everybody, like my sibling, they have those family to take care.
A $600 million top-up to Medifund will also be made this year, increasing the payouts by over $20 million disbursed each year. Also, MediShield coverage will be extended from 85 years to 90, as more Singaporeans are living till 90 and above. But this would require an increase in premiums across the board. To help MediShield insured Singaporeans adjust to the premium hike, they will receive a one-off MediSave top-up. Families that opt to hire a foreign domestic helper to care for elderly members will receive a $120 grant per month. And to ensure that homes with an elderly family member are kept safe, a new program called the Enhancement for Active Seniors allows households to qualify for home modifications worth some $2,000.
And more help will be given to lower-income families, including extra financial support for their children to get a high-quality education.
There will be more education subsidies for children from less well-off families. For those in preschool, a new per capita household income criterion will be introduced to give more support to larger families. For example, a family of 5 earning 2,500 Sing dollars in household income will pay $20 for each kid in childcare, compared to $110 previously. The household income ceiling for the government's financial assistance scheme for needy students will be raised from $1,500 to $2,500 per month, benefiting 40,000 more students. There will also be top-ups of up to $15,000 annually for the next 3 years to allow schools to introduce schemes such as transport assistance for students. The EduSave and Comcare endowment funds will also get a boost of $400 million in total to support families in need. Mr. Tharman said the government is providing a breadth of exposure to every child regardless of family background in a way that few school systems overseas do. Singapore has been building this up over the last decade to allow every child to discover what they like and what they are good at.
Well, for the first time, the government is providing money to help bus operators grow their fleets and improve service standards. With the $1 billion Bus Services Enhancement Fund, some 800 more buses will hit the roads by 2016.
Today, about 6 in 10 passenger trips are made on buses, but there are growing complaints about reliability and congestion. In the immediate 5 years, the government will fund 550 buses, while public bus operators will add another 250 buses. These will raise capacity by 20% in 2016.
Well, the move is said to be significant given that operators took close to 20 years to grow the bus fleet by 800 buses in the past. And with the new added capacity, commuters can expect buses to have better frequencies.
This significant increase in bus capacity will reduce crowding and waiting times. For example, it will enable almost all feeder buses to run every 10 minutes or less for 2 hours during morning and evening peak periods, instead of the 1 hour peak currently.
I think it's an excellent short-term measure while we work on the signalling system upgrade, while we work on adding more trains. It's a big step forward, and I think commuters will take very well to it.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing.
If you increase frequency of buses, it might help just a little bit.
The fare definitely will increase because they got to pay the drivers and they got to pay for whatever they need.
We are trying to increase the public transportation demand to get more people to take the public transport. But at the same time, we also need to consider whether we have the sufficient capacity to provide. So I think the interventions or the assistance from the government is very timely.
Professor Lee said for the true benefits to be realised, there's a need to overcome the current manpower challenge and introduce more bus priority measures.
And just ahead, the Singapore Air Show.